morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program. I'm covering natural health today on this year Wednesday. And I'm looking at a topic: why sowing, reaping, faith entails diligent seeking, labor, doing. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your word in this day. I pray, dear Lord, that you may bless us as we study together and as we look at these things that are good for our health and good for our life. May you bless us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. So I'm looking at this topic here again, which is why faith, why sowing, reaping, faith entails diligent seeking and, labor and doing. And so when we contemplate what faith is, what sowing and reaping is, as I'm connecting, as my theme for this week is, I'm connecting faith as it is viewed through the lens of sowing and reaping. And why it is that if you're a person of faith, that what you're doing is always future looking and you're contemplating this thought here of sowing and reaping. And so everything that we do, we always be contemplating this idea here of sowing and reaping. And so as I say, as you're going to work today, as you're trying to get your day going, taking care of yourself, everything you're thinking about is future looking. What are you doing for yourself today that you may reap a reward in your life and in your processes of whatever you do? Whatever you do, you're doing things that will make you have a healthier life tomorrow. And as long as you do that, you will constantly see the benefits of true Christianity and what the Lord would have us to do. And so I want to cover that thought today with you. So again, why sowing, reaping, faith entails diligent seeking and labor. So why all of this is all one process. As I just readjust some things here before I get going. So yes, so we'll do that. So notice here now, faith as it is viewed through the lens of sowing and reaping. In Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 and 6. Hebrews 11, verse 1 and 6. Here, Hebrews 11, verse 1 and 6. So all is squared. Okay. Hebrews 11, verse 1 and 6. Now it says here, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So notice here, faith has substances in it. Faith is not something that is just this vapid concept that has no bearing on reality and on your day-to-day life. Faith has substance in it. Faith has this idea of evidence, this idea there of hope. And so as you do life and you're doing life, you're looking for some results. And whatever results you're looking for, they're results that will come by you diligently seeking. So it's the same thing when it comes on to any work you do. You know, when you do work, it's hard work and you always have to be diligent at it and you have to figure out how to get the best results. So this is our process. This is how we do life. Constantly trying to figure out how to get the best results, and you always have to consume. We're consumers. We consume products, we consume food, we consume services. And so as we consume, we have to be able to produce and then consume. We're constantly producing and consume. And so when we look at life, we see that a farmer goes out there and he puts in the grain. He has to plow the field, he has to maintain the field, and he has to harvest. All of that, are what we call reaping. So it's planting and reaping, or planting and harvest. That entails diligent, that entails labor, that it entails doing. But we go to faith now. Faith entails doing, entails labor, entails seeking, entails being diligent. So we're going to flesh this out. So notice here, without faith, because what is faith? Faith is belief, trust that belief, and then doing. You have to make a decision. And the other word that we're going to be looking at today is wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge, understanding, and then using that knowledge and understanding to make a decision that will bless you in the future. So anything we do in the Bible, always and in this life, always entail belief, trust that belief, and doing something. You go to work today. What you're going to work today? You're going to work to either produce something or to deliver a service. But you get paid at the end. You get rewarded. So everything in life has to do with sowing, reaping, or what we will call planting and harvesting. Faith entails belief and trust that belief and doing. Wisdom entails knowledge, understanding, and doing. It's always that. But when you're dealing with a regular person who don't understand this, their concepts and their ideas is that they want to be blessed, they want to prosper, they want to be in good health, but they want to eliminate wisdom, they want to eliminate faith, they want to eliminate sowing and reaping. But as the Bible says, whatsoever a man sow, that shall he also reap. So everything in life has to do with sowing and reaping. And when a person is very lazy and don't want to put in effort, what they will get is the results from it. It's the same thing when it comes on to, as I said, diet and lifestyle. Person who want to eat food that they don't have to chew too hard. Everything is always succulent, soft, sweet. Nothing ever comes difficult. Then they get the results. And so we want to be able to understand that life has some. You have to put some pressure in. You have to be able to be under pressure. You have to be able to sweat. You have to be able to put in your hard work, and you have to be doing this diligently. And so we will flesh this out as we go along. So notice in Matthew chapter 13, verse 3 through 9, Matthew 13, verse 3 through 9, notice it says here, and he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, the sower went forth to sow. So the sower went forth to sow. Why is the sower sowing? Because the king has to eat from his labor. The peasant has to eat from his labor. Everybody eats from the farm. And so everybody has to eat because we're consumers. That's just what we do. They say the American economy is a consumer driven economy. So is every economy. It's just some people consume more than others. But the economy, function like that, but so are we. All of us are consumers. Some people are just hyper consumers, and some people are low, low, they I guess is hyper and hypo. So some people consume a lot, some people consume less, but everybody consumes. Everybody has to buy clothing. Everybody needs transportation. Everybody needs shoes. Everybody needs warmth, cooling. We all consume. It's just how you consume, how much you consume. That's all it is. So notice here, the sowers went forth to sow because you have to eat, and also the people that he's going to feed has to eat. So there's a process to it. There's a reason to why a sower went forth to sow, or the planter, or we will say the farmer went forth to farm and to plant seed. So the sower went forth to sow. He's speaking in a parable saying the sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. And some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth. And forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell in good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100, some 60, some 30. Who had ear to ear, let him hear. So here we have the process. You want to get results 30, 60, 100. Then what you have to do? You have to sow. Because whatsoever man sow, that shall he also reap. You want to be in good health. You want to be in good mental health, physical health. Then you have to say, what have I put in? What am I putting in? What do I put in my body? How do I take care of my body? What do I put on my skin? How do I treat myself? And the results you get will never have error in it, because the curse causeless shall not come. The blessings will come upon you because you do what you're supposed to do. So you're supposed to be able to sow or plant or be like a farmer. And your body becomes the terrain. Your mind becomes that terrain. What do you put in it? What are the books you're reading? What are you watching? Whatever entertainment you're partaking of. Because you will become what you partake of. So if you want to partake of something that's going to make you do healthy and well, then you have to partake of that. Well, how you're treating yourself, how you trying to sculpt your body, how you exercising. All of this has to do with sowing and reaping. But as my topic is, when you are considering what you're doing for your health, you have to consider what am I putting in? What am I looking to harvest? Um, how does that has to do with faith? How does that has to do with wisdom? How does that have to do with diligence? How does that has to do with labor? And how does that have to do with doing? Because remember, everything that the farmer does or you're doing for work because you want a reward at the end of the week or the end of every 2 weeks, depending on your pay schedule, you're putting in labor. And the labor you're putting in is labor that has to do with faith and has to do with wisdom. So as you put this labor in, then you get your results. And you say, okay, I'm thankful for my paycheck. And I can do things with that paycheck. Well, it's the same way with your mind. It's the same way with your physical health. You're just simply putting in labor. You're just saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to invest this way because I want this result. So if you look at the results, like normally as the Bible, as I said to you before, the face is a marvelous invention. Not just because you look at the person's face and you can feel even what you can sense what they're thinking and stuff like that, or how they're feeling or what their perception, whatever is going on. But also, if you get sick, one of the first places you'll see it in is in the face, because the person could be breaking out with bumps or stuff like that. But if you look at it now, these are simple things that you can pick up from the skin. If the person's skin is very dry, then it is dry. That's just what it is. If the person don't use moisturizer on their skin, then it's just going to be dry. What are you putting in? What are you putting on? How do you treat yourself? Because you have to treat yourself. Number one, you have to treat your mind and your body as the most important, as I said yesterday, thing that you own, that you are, because that's the vessel that's your earthen vessel you walk around with. And we all are earthen vessels, but the mind and what we are, the spirit, is inside of this vessel that we walk around with. And how you treat it is very important. But your mind also is important. What are you putting in your mind? Because there's a lot of times if you spend too much time thinking about negative thoughts and all kind of madness that goes on in the world, you just be depressed. So let's now go to why I'm here for, so to speak. Matthew chapter 7, that's my introduction, as you know, the theme, my anchor. So Matthew chapter 7 now, and we're going to read verse 4 onwards. Notice here Christ says, teaching here, he says, Matthew 7 verse 4, or wilt thou say, so this is where Christ picks up in Matthew 7. Many people are familiar with this because this is where Christ talk about judge that you be not judged. Okay. So he's talking about judge, that you be not judged. But I love this principle here that he picks up in verse 7. Matthew 7, verse 7 is what I came for, but Matthew 7 verse 4 give me the how you call the foundation of what he's going to. So to me, it's hard to get fully Matthew 7 verse 7, which is easy to remember because it's such a famous teaching, ask and it shall be given unto thee. But to me, to really understand Matthew 7 verse 7, which is the main principle, in my mind at least, one has to pick up on verse 4. So verse 4, look at this now, what he says here. It says, or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye. Thou hypocrite, first cast the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. So when I read that principle, what I come away with is this idea that you need to take care of your business. You have to make sure that before you worry about other people's business, that you're taking care of your business. So if you're not focused on your business, number one, right, then how are you going to take care of somebody else's business? Your business has to be taken care of. Your family has to be taken care of. Your health has to be taken care of. Your mental status has to be taken care of before you can worry about others. There are a lot of troubles in this world. And a lot of time why there's so much troubles in this world, because instead of people minding their own business, so to speak, they're worried about other people's business and try to fix others when they themselves need fixing. So when it comes on to health, this becomes your primary goal. You first have to bless yourself, be blessed, seek your own blessing, take care of your own blessing, make sure you're secure. And then from your abundance, when your cup runneth over, then you bless somebody. Like if you come to me and you say, Lloyd, I need $10,000. I'm like, yeah, me too. I need 10. You have 10 to give me? Oh no, you're looking for 10 or you're looking to the wrong person, right? If you come to me and say, Lloyd, I have a business to do and I need $1 million, I say, great. I need a million too. So again, you're talking to the wrong person. You normally go to those who have excess. Does that make sense? And so I would say to you, well, if you're talking about $1 million, you probably need to go to the bank. They're the people who have that type of money. They pull people money together so that they can lend to that in that level. Or you need to go to somebody that's a multi-millionaire or multi-billionaire. They have excess and they can give. Doesn't make sense. So it's the same thing when it comes on to your personal life or when it comes on to your health. You first have to do what? You have to make sure that you have excess. You have the wherewithal. You have to be a learner before you can be a teacher because you will not have something to give to others. A lot of time you have people, they're busybody in other people's business because they don't take care of their business. They have too much time on their hand. And so you make sure your business is taken care of. All right. In order for you to be charitable, you have to have something to be charitable with. In order for you to give, you have to have something that you have made. You have something to give. You can't give what you don't have. Does that make sense? And that's the principle of life. A person that's busybody in people's business, they're giving what they don't have. So again, when it comes on to your health, again, you have somebody in an emergency room, it would not be the best in their best interest to get up off the stretcher, the bed that they're on, that the doctor is supposed to be taking care of them, and start treating people in the emergency room. That don't make no sense. If you have a gunshot wound, it would be best for you to lay there and make the people do their thing. You shouldn't be there trying to help somebody with a gunshot. And so that's what it is. The people that's in the emergency room that's working, obviously they're not injured. So that's why they're taking care of those who are injured. And that's how life's supposed to be. So in our life, what we have to do is we have to first focus, what is my problem? And then when you fix your problem, probably you can fix other people's problem. But again, as it says, as a famous philosopher told me that two dead batteries cannot start a car. So again, if you have a car, if you're a car, or you have a car, and your battery is dead, you're gonna go find another car with a dead battery and put them in, line them up. Now I know somebody could say, probably Lloyd, if you line up 100 dead batteries, you could start the car. Probably, probably not. Probably the amount of resistance that's going to be on the wires that connect each of the batteries still will make it work. I don't know. Somebody could prove me wrong or prove the philosopher wrong. But the idea here is that two dead batteries won't start a car. So if you're a dead battery, mining other people's who have dead battery, because you could see, you could have a problem in your life, and you could see that somebody's have the problem or even the same problem, but it doesn't solve the problem because you need to take care of yourself. So I wanted to put that principle there first because I think it's key to understand what he says next. Notice he says in verse 6, he says, "Give not that which is holy unto dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them on their feet and turn again and rend you." So, not a powerful principle, because the issue here in my mind that I'm trying to deal with here and I'm trying to communicate to you is why you have to work so hard, why things are so complicated at times. Why is it that, for the careless and indifferent, those that don't pay attention, those that don't work hard at whatever they're doing, why they don't prosper? And why, even if they prosper by criminality, they sooner or later, they get caught, they get pulled over, and by some stroke of divine intervention, the police decide to search their vehicle because he's suspicious, and then they find him with cocaine, and then they lock them up and send him to prison. Why this life works like that? And so notice here, he says, "Give not what is holy to God to dogs." So no matter what religious people and no matter what people are careless and indifferent, might preach to you. Some pastor might tell you about grace, 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 and all this type of stuff. What Jesus now is speaking, and he says, he tell you the principle of life that he follows and that you should follow is that you don't waste your time on people who are not diligent, and God doesn't. Because faith cometh by hearing and hearing by the word of God. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. But God is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. When you want a blessing, you could pray to God, but you have to diligent about it. And when you're diligent, you are automatically transformed from a swine to a human being that is seeking a blessing. And so the blessing that you seek comes through sowing, reaping, or through planting and harvesting. The blessing that you seek comes through being diligent, through doing, through labor. Other than that, how are you going to get a blessing? Because the Lord of heaven is not playing that game. The Lord of heaven is teaching us here that if you want to be blessed, how you have to do is not be a pig. You have to see the value of pearls. You have to see the value of things that are valuable, and you have to value that. And so when you value that, you live your life differently. But when you don't see no value in these things, then you live your life in a certain way. So notice here, he says, give not what is holy unto dogs. So you have to approach life that it is not for those who are careless or casual. It is for those who are paying attention to details, because that's what diligence is. Neither cast your pearls before pigs or before swines. There's things that you could teach, I could teach here, but I've learned I make effort and I put stuff out. But again, I understand that for the most part, probably the first 15 minutes of when I'm presenting, I lose most people. And all the time it takes me a while to get it going. To calm down. And I don't mind it because I realize that says if you're a pig, you're not gonna stay around because you're not gonna stick around to try to get to what I'm here humming on about. it's it is part of life. I don't know, probably that's how it's supposed to be to eliminate the casual people. People value is most people don't understand what good value is. You know what I mean? If you see something, you go to the store and you say, why would anybody pay for an organically grown food? Why would anybody pay for a tree ripened natural food that is not genetically engineered? You know, they can go and buy the cheap junk that they're putting out there for everybody to kill everybody. Why would somebody pay more? You see, but the person asking that they're not diligent. You shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't ask that question. You know, you need a knock in your head. Why are you asking that question? You foolish. Most of they're charging a price for slow. Remember, in our society now, there's fast food and there's slow food. You know, but somebody eating fast food, they never stop and say, why this cheap stuff is why it's so cheap and it tastes so junky and it look junky and stuff like that. It might look great, but why they don't ask, and so on for them it's like, oh, that's fanatical, oh, that's too extreme. You're gonna die. You're very silly. All that cheap stuff, you know, why is it that says it's very difficult to maintain good health? Because it's not for everybody. You know, it's easy to go to 600 pounds. You know what I mean? You need like a forklift to get you to your house when you die. So it's easier. So notice here Christ says, give not that which is holy unto dogs, because they can't appreciate it. They can't reverence it. They need cheap junk in their life. Again, you know, that's just life. Neither cast your pearls before swine. It's just not for them. Certain efforts are not for people who are casual and they just can't see value. And they think anything that's of value is too much. It's too much. It's too hard. It's too difficult. Yeah, there you go. That's a pig. It says, lest they trample them on the feet and turn again and rend you. And that's what it is. People attack you because they're silly. So you have to be aware that you can't be around pigs because pigs will attack you, and because you have pearls. It's just like, you know, it is amazing, and you can see this all day long. It's a pig. So now we come to the one of the more famous texts in the whole Bible, verse 7, Matthew 7:7. Easy to remember. Matthew 7:7. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh, and to him that knocketh shall be found. So again, he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be open. Now the question is, why does the Lord do this? Why is it that you just can't? Why can't the door just be open? And why can you get the answer before you even ask? Why you have to ask? And why you have to can't find stuff without seeking it? Well, because sometimes it's there in plain broad daylight. It's right there in front of you. but you don't know the reason for it because you're not interested. You could walk past a building all day long and you see people in there and people are there partaking of the product or service. And you never stop to say, why they there? Why they partaking of that product or service? Yeah, you're not interested. It's just not for you. The moment you ask, then you're fine. Or you get an answer. The moment you knock, they open the door, you're like, welcome. This is what we have to offer. You know, you've seen people interested in something and you look at it, you find out, you'll be like, oh, that's not for me. All right, okay. But then you see somebody interested in something, you look at it, you say, wow, I wish I had known this before. Man, I need this in my life. You've seen that. You've you have the algorithms on the search engines and on social media, the artificial intelligence algorithms, and you click one video and then they throw up another video. You watch that video, it's like, man, I wish I'd known this before. Because you click, but it was there all the time. You just never clicked. It was there all your life. The knowledge and information was there. The product and service was there, but you just never have a need or you never saw the need. But no, you saw the need. You're like, oh man, I need this in my life, and then it's a value. So what it is that as he says, if you're a pig or a swine, and the person either say, here you go, swine don't see no value in that because it's a swine can't see the value in that. Swine can you tell a swine, hey, listen, this is soap, water, this is nice, cotton, what you call it, Egyptian cotton. We're gonna tell a pig that about Egyptian cotton. They don't like that. They're gonna be like, what's the value of that? It's like, okay then, pig. So this is the reality. So you want a good healthy body, then you have to go seek. You want a good mind, you have to go seek. You have to go try to figure out who has the best philosophy, who's getting the best results, and then you go follow them and then go seek them. And then when they drop that knowledge and they tell you how to do, and how to labor, how to work, how to be diligent, the process they go through, then you find there's great value, a pearl of great price, and you're willing to sell all to be able to secure it. But there's people who, because they didn't knock, there's not going to be no answer. And that's what it is. Now, to continue drilling down in this principle here, one of the texts that, as I talked about last week, that instruct me is a text in Genesis 3 that after man sinned, after the sin of humanity, the Lord, as I would call it, showed his hand, all right, in a positive way, or to solidify this principle. So just in case somebody say, okay, that's Jesus there preaching. Well, this is Jesus in Genesis. I believe it's Jesus here speaking. In Genesis 3, verse 17, it picks up here where after Adam and Eve sin, now we're going to talk about what the Lord said to Adam. And why would I say, in my mind, it's a show your hand? Because remember, when God created Adam and Eve, as I said, Adam was told to dress it and keep it, the garden that is. So Adam was given work. It wasn't hard labor, but it was work. So we are created to work. So that's the starting point. So we always start there. To me, we're created to work. And it's just modern Christianity has done a dirty job. And Christians, it's almost all the preachers out there, they preach and tell people that you have grace, and grace means, I guess, you should be lazy. But no, we were created in a perfect world to work, and in a sinful world, we have hard work. Notice here, Christ says in Genesis 3, verse 17, and unto Adam he said, which is God, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I command thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Curse is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Now we understand that Christ died on the cross and Christ ushered eternal righteousness to us. We can live righteous. But there is no evidence I see that hard work was eliminated at the cross or after the cross. There's no evidence in the era of the martyrs from the time of Christ's death until, what we'll say, until the modern age. Hard work always is there. Complicated work, complicated puzzles. The reason why we do algorithm, algebra, Pythagoras, all these different things is because we're trying to figure out a way to solve complicated problems. So this is As I say, it's easy to draw a straight line to measure, get the what you call it, the area of a square, that type of thing. But when you start getting into a circle and stuff like that, these start becoming complicated. And you need this for work, to build things and to fix things and so forth and so on. Okay, so in the sweat of thy face, there's no indication that we don't sweat or we don't do hard work. Everything you do, if you work in customer service, that means most of the time people are calling you because they have a problem. And probably a smaller percentage of the time they call you because they're mad about something. That's just life. Somebody said, but that's an easy job. How is it easy? You could say the easiest jobs and they're very difficult. Somebody said, well, what if a person is a pastor? That's an easy job. That's not an easy job. If you understand what a pastor is, to shepherd people who are wayward, or sheep, and they go astray. Not It's very difficult, and because you have to deal with things in people's personal life that could keep you up at night. No job that you could look at it as an easy job. If you're the head of a company, a CEO, you ever see a CEO? Most of the time, most CEOs, they look very stressed out. All right, you take any job that you think, oh, that's very difficult. You go. I always remember when President Obama that became the president of the country, when he became president, and he went in looking all young. And by the time he left the presidency, he went almost gray. And you always say, do they sleep? And because imagine when you have a country with 1,000 military base around the world, companies around the world, all kind of, if something happened in one of your allies or one of your the countries that are partners, anywhere, any disaster in the country that you live, any bad thing that goes down, you have to get a call. It has to be a stressful job. But you could say, oh, that's the best job. Really? Do you have the temperament to deal with that job? So when we look at this, curse is the ground. So it does not, this, no, somebody say, Lord, why would you say, then, Lord showed his hand? Because he didn't kill Adam and Eve. He gave them grace. You see, that's what grace is. And yet somebody said, but there's the hard work. They're going to have to go from easy work to hard work. Yeah, still work. But if he had wanted to destroy them, he could have destroyed them. So when it is Moses, when Moses approached God, the people were afraid. But because there's thunder and lightning, you see, that's another companion text to this text, in my mind, at least. It's clear in my mind. That's God. It's the moment you sin, God like, listen. And Moses says, no, he's God does that thunder and lightning so that you you who might be afraid might fear him. Like is that, in other words, what I read here, God said, listen, I'm not joking with you, Adam. You're gonna make your own garden because I gave you a free garden, and you disrespect me. I'm gonna take you out of the garden. This is why I read this. And it's the same thing. God thunders and lightning because God wants reverence. And because sinners can be very disrespectful. And so God have to readjust sinners. And so, but if you understand the thunder and the lightning, you approach God. You say, He still loves me, and He's still gracious to me and merciful. So you approach. So Moses approach. Here, Adam and Eve is being told, basically it's Adam, listen, you're going to have to work hard. And it's going to come difficult. So the moment you understand this and you go through your day, man, and you say, man, today was a rough day. You just go get some sleep, take a break. It's just part of life. The cross doesn't change us. What you understand is that Lord want to bless you, Lord love you. But because you sin, God said this is the way. And you just do it. Why? Because of the text that is read before. Because the blessing is not for pigs. The blessing is not for those who do not seek, ask, whatever. So if you're diligent and you're willing to put in the hard work, God says, I'll bless you. The thunder and the lightning, don't worry about it. Just keep going. And so every day you're going to go to work. There's going to be thunder and lightning. There's just thorns and thistle. Notice here, thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. So somebody said, Lloyd, but herbs are bitter. I get it. Thunder and lightning again. More famine, pestilence. But you understand, this is part of life. And so it's the life that we live. So I just take herbs. I take herbs daily. Sometimes I'll skip a day or so and I don't take. But for the most part, I take herbs on a daily basis, minimum 6 days a week. Why? It's just part of life. I I I would probably guarantee I consume so much salad, you know, lettuce and stuff like that, kale, collard greens, and so forth. A lot. I consume those by the thing. Like I went to this, like I'll go to the supermarket, six head of lettuce, collard greens or whatever I consume. So why somebody say why I consume it? This text, this is the text. Why do you do so much herb? This is the text. It's just part of it is just warfare and pestilence, thunder and lightning. You have to see something and you have to say what. See how I see this text, like somebody say, okay, well, how far do I see this text? When I drive around, if I see a house in disrepair, I see this text. I say, oh, that's how it's hard labor. So I'm just something I can't physically do the labor, but in my mind, I see the house and I say, man, that house. If you renovate that house, you could buy it for cheap. You do your thorns and thistle, headache, and then you can sell the house for a nice profit or rent it out. You see, that's how you have to look at life. I see everything in life like this. It's not for those who don't put in the labor. You want to be healthy, man. You have to sweat. You have to pump iron. You have to run on the treadmill, walk, ride bicycle. You have to do all of that stuff. Somebody just want to be healthy and they can't do that because they hear the thunder and lightning of God and they're like, oh no, I can't do that. They're gonna die. So that's what it is. It says, in the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, till thou return to the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. So when I read this text, this is marriage for me. This is what it is. You've seen people that get married and they say, it's not what it used to be, because they're not putting in the labor. You until you die, you're working at your marriage, and you're diligently working your marriage. You never stop. Somebody say, Lloyd, I don't see nothing about marriage. I see about sweat and eat bread. Yeah, I see marriage here. So I see thunder and lightning. That's what I see. So you want to be happy in your marriage. You want to have friends. You put in labor. Everything you want to do, you want to put in labor. I see this text. You don't see this? I see it. I see. You don't want to put in labor. Somebody said we grow apart. You didn't grow apart. You just get lazy. That's what the problem is. You'll never grow apart if you're willing to put in the labor. Verse 29 says, therefore the Lord God sent him forth out of the garden to till the ground from whence he was taken, because we are earthen vessels. We come from the earth and we go back to the earth because we are from the earth. And so in these earthen vessels, we have to maintain them and we have to do the best we can. Now, as I say, thorns and thistles, sometimes the thorns and thistles overcome us and we die because of either accident or ill health. But until then, we just work, we just work and we work and we get the results of our work. Because remember, everything we do is forward looking. We work for a reward. We diligently seek God for a reward. We juice, we fast, we exercise for a reward until we die, whether, as I say, by accident or by ill health or by whatever, or till God said, listen, you're done. We just keep working. But the result of our work is we work in faith, we work with hope, we work because we want a reward. We're farmers, we just work. So the Lord drove them out of the place, and he placed cherubims with flaming swords that turned every way to keep them from the tree of life. So somebody said, Lord, they got thrown from the tree of life. This is God showing his hand. God always do this because God don't want you to not diligently seek him, because this is the principle. Now somebody said, well, why is this? Why is this? Because you don't appreciate things. There's something about sin that sin make us lazy, make us break commandments, make us don't appreciate good things. So Adam and Eve was in the garden. They had a tree of life and they didn't appreciate it. And God said, I'm going to run you out. God run them out. And now they will be like, oh man. Because remember, the mere fact that he blocked them from the tree of life tells you that if they had the opportunity, they will get back in. They're trying to break back into the garden, so to speak, and get to the tree of life. So in a few minutes, I'm going to show you that the Lord wants us to have the tree of life still. But they would have gotten back to it. So they have to see the value of it. You see, now they lose it. You ever hear the thing is that say you never see the value of something until you lose it. When you have it, you'll be like, that's not nothing. Lose it, and you say, oh man, I see the value of that. So when you get something, you have something that you see a value, then you fight to not lose it. That's why I see marriage in that text. You fight to keep something that you have that is of value. If you have something you work hard for, you don't want to lose it. You want to keep it, right? But somebody, you have something and someone don't see the value in it, they don't understand why you're fighting so hard. You know, there's people who come from, talk about, yesterday there was an accident that happened in Florida where a bus of migrant workers were traveling, and somebody that's under the influence of some drugs or alcohol crashing them, and the bus turned over and killed 8, injured 8, critical. These were people, I don't know if they're male and female, but these are people that were working. And they probably come from an area where they couldn't have the job, they couldn't work, and they were willing to come in and do farm work so that you and I can eat. A person that's living in their ivory palace would say, why would somebody come to my country, even illegal, to work so that they can feed me? Because they're not on the farm. The people are talking, about illegal immigrants and all that. They're not on the farms. They're not there at in Delaware and Maryland and Virginia killing chickens so that you can have your chicken nuggets. So they can talk all kind of nonsense because they know what hard work is. But here, these people, they literally come across literally river and desert and all kind of stuff to try to make sure that you and I could have food to eat. I appreciate that. Somebody that's gonna be there getting up every day, getting up playing video games could be like, oh, they shouldn't come in my country and work illegal. They don't understand. They're gonna starve without those people. So the the fact of the matter is that is the all diligent labor. And even diligent labor, you could have somebody working hard and tragedy could happen. Some of these people die on the way trying to come to feed us. And that's just the reality. It's just hard labor. And nobody coming for easy labor. We all have hard labor to do. Whether the person is the king, the prime president, or the person is on the field somewhere working. It's hard labor. But it is them that diligently seek and seeking a blessing. And sometimes even the process, things go bad. And it's a tragedy. So I just say that in commemoration of those, so many people like that in order for you to have sugar, they have to be on a sugar plantation somewhere in Florida, dealing with that thing. In order for you to have orange juice, they have to be there because the citizens are not, for the most part. I think that, I was reminded yesterday by Brother Green. He was saying to me that you can go on YouTube and see, there's a Vice video where a Black American a reporter went and worked on a farm, and there was a program that they were doing in Obama because like a lot of American citizens were complaining and saying that how these immigrants are taking our jobs. So I think it was on the Obama because I think Obama, for the most part, they say he's Black American, and a lot of these complaints sometimes come from Black American. So the Vice News reporter was Black American, and he went on this program they were doing to try to get Americans to work on farms. And you can see the video online. And he went with a lot of other American, white and Black American. And he says, I don't remember if it was like a month, 2 months, whatever it was. He was the only one, a Black guy was the only one that left out of the group of Black Americans, white Americans that went to work in a farm. It was just him and the Hispanics. And that's just a fact because it's brutal labor. And it was down. I can't remember if it was Alabama or Mississippi. It's brutal. Them places they have swamps and they have 100 and something degrees, 90 something degrees. And the American citizens couldn't take it. But they're the first person. And I hear this from so much whites and Black Americans. They'll be constantly complaining about foreigners. But when you look at the job that farm workers does, you got to respect it's hard labor. It takes me back to Genesis. And Genesis tell me, you just by the sweat of your brow, you go sweat in Mississippi, Alabama. You can imagine that's the slave-owning state. They couldn't get Europeans to do that. They'll die. I mean, it's just brutal. You're just killing people to get that sugar cane and that cotton and whatever. But these are things that people don't want to face. These are just harsh realities. So notice now in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom." Remember, wisdom is knowledge, understanding, and how you use that knowledge and understanding and make decisions to do something. Because we have to do. We are doers, all right? And every time I say that, somehow I have this advertisement in my head from Home Depot. And if you go to Home Depot, especially in the city area, You find Mexicans on the on near there and Lowe's also, I'm assuming, looking for work. And if you probably walk 2 blocks down, as my wife said to me, you find the citizens of the country begging for money. But you find the foreigners and the Mexicans and Hispanics in general, I shouldn't say Mexicans, they're there looking for work. And as I say, I've had people call me, citizens call me multiple times, calling the church saying that they need some free food, but they never call and say they need work. It's, so you have one group of people on the side of the street looking for work and another group on the side of the street looking for, as they call them, handouts. So, but somehow when I hear doing, I hear Home Depot in my head. So notice here, my son, if thou will receive my word and hide them, my commandments within thee in the heart, so that thy incline thine ear unto wisdom and apply, because it's application. Wisdom is application. Apply thine heart to understanding. What are you trying to understand? Yea, if thou criest after knowledge and lifted up thy voice for understanding. So that's why when Christ says, if you seek, you will you will find. If you ask, if you knock, it's the same thing is being said here. You want to be healthy, you want to have the healthiest mind, healthiest body. You gotta go seek, because this is hard work. And so because it's gonna be difficult, you want to find who is figuring it out so that you can do it the easier way. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom is basically doing, but doing it easier. Why we go to school? Because there's a process that must be done, and you want to figure out what's the best way to do it. What's the best methodology? That's all. If you will cry after wisdom and lifted up thy voice after understanding, for understanding. If thou seekest her as silver, how does people seek silver? They dig down deep and they have to go find the veins and search it as for hid treasures. How do people search? You ever see these people always try to find ships that were sunken years ago and then have to figure out how to get it back out? A very difficult work. But what happened when they get that to that pot of gold, which is what they're looking for, or whatever treasure, they're going to be immensely rich. So they say it's worth the labor. Then thou shalt understand the fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord, the fear of the Lord, and find knowledge. So you want to find knowledge. What you're gonna have to do, seek after it. Whatever you're doing in this life, you're gonna come with hard work. As I always see people pouring across the border, and I always say, what are they coming for? They're coming for hard work. People think they're coming for handouts. Only a person that's sitting in the ivory palace with a video game joystick in their hand talk that foolishness. Ain't nobody coming here for heavy labor. You see somebody in a gym and you see them there sweating and working hard. What are they coming for? There was I remember where I was living, but somewhere I was living there, I used to see this Indian older guy. He looked like he's probably about 70 something years old. And he would always go running. And I'm saying, I know what he's running from. It's not what he's running to, it's what he's running from. There's something chasing him. And I think it's the Grim Reaper. And the Grim Reaper is chasing him and he's running. And I'm like, praise the Lord, he's running again. He's trying to stay alive. But there's people out there, they're running to the Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper takes them out all the time. Matthew 8, verse 19 through 22. Matthew 8, verse 19 through 22. It says, and a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest. And Jesus said unto him, Foxes have holes, the birds of the air have nests, and the Son of Man had nowhere to lay his head. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me to first go and bury my father. And Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury the dead. See, so Christ is consistent. Whether you're dealing with Christ in Genesis or you're dealing with Christ in Matthew, Christ is consistent. Now I know somebody said, my preacher don't preach that, Lord. My preacher preached that says it's all going to be cotton candy and ice cream, vanilla ice cream lifestyle and cotton candy. I know, but you can't find it in the Bible. You find hard work and diligence. That's what you find. Now somebody said, but Lloyd, how about Solomon? Solomon had the cotton candy lifestyle. I know it. I got it. Yeah. And look what he almost lost his soul and salvation. He got messed up. He messed up himself because he's the one. If anybody ever lived the vanilla ice cream and cotton candy lifestyle, it would be Solomon. How did it work out for him? got rough because he went against his own principles. So let's read in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1 onward. The person that had the vanilla ice cream and cotton candy lifestyle, 1,000 wives and concubine and the best clothes. Christ says he wear the best clothes. Jesus says, my man was clothed. Nobody was clothed like him. And yet princesses, the most spoiled brats he had around him. And he messed him up. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1 onward, it says, my son, forget not my law, and let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. So that's why we're commandment keepers. Because we're trying to have a life extension. We want to add instead of subtract. Every time you eat one of these nuggets, every time you eat some of these things, all you're doing is just, subtracting from your longevity. Notice here, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck and write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord, and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel, and marrow to thy bone. So notice here, when you follow right principles, it makes you healthy. The principles I'm talking about here is just, to me, just health for my mind. And by God's grace, it's health for you. When you understand, you cannot be allergic to a treadmill or a bicycle path or walking path, then you're going to be do good. When you look at a juice bar, I understand why people juice. Then you start understanding, and then you have to apply that, and that's wisdom. See, if I see, if I'm driving on the road and I see somebody coming out of a juice bar with a juice in their hand, I'm like, they're wise. Somebody said, that's not wisdom, Lord. Yes, it is. Knowledge and understanding, they're wise. I see as a person running away from the grim reaper. I say, praise the Lord. They know how to live. Notice here, and I read it again. It said, be not wise in thine own eyes, and fear the Lord, and depart from evil. Verse 8 says, it shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. That's where you produce your blood. Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruit of thine increase. That's a tithe and offering. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wines. It's a principle. You follow it, and the Lord will bless the work. So somebody said, Lord, I want to be blessed. Yeah, do you have a barn? I want to have wine. Do you have a vineyard? You can't be blessed. You have to go work. You have to put something in to get something out. Notice here, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he corrected, even as a father, the son in whom he delighted. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. So when you have wisdom, and when you can grasp stuff and take stuff in, and as I say, you're not a pig, and you're not forward. Because when the person is forward, that means they're difficult to deal with. There's people that are very difficult to deal with. You can't talk to them. You can't. It's just hard. Then you'll be blessed when you're not forward. When you'll be blessed when you're not difficult to deal with. When you understand, when you start to get yourself understanding, when you start ask the question why, then you start getting answers. But until you say why, what, where, when, it's just gonna be difficult, and it's just life gonna beat you and beat you and beat you. As I say, show me the people on the side of the street begging bread, and you ask me if they understand Proverbs chapter 3. Notice here, happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof of fine gold. Somebody say, wait a minute. You're telling me that a person of knowledge and understanding and wisdom is doing better than a person that have fine gold? Yeah, because what happened? Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom will get you fine gold. Fine gold will never get you knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Some of the most crazy people I've ever dealt with are people who could be very rich and they're very silly. And definitely most of them never healthy. But when I start whip you, then you start to say, probably I need to go figure out why people go to juice bars, why people go to spa. I was looking at a spa recently, and I was looking at the pricing, and I'm thinking, Man, this is what they're charging at these spas. That's some crazy numbers. So I say, hey, poor people can afford that. A lot of times you see these things, they're actually in places where people have money. Because if you have money, you want to live, shouldn't you? So you can actually enjoy the money. Anyhow, so notice here for the merger. Okay, and verse 15 says, "She is more precious than rubies, and all things that can be desired are not to be compared with her. Length of days are in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor." So you can get rich by being wise, but you can have a person that has money and be very foolish. As I said to you, how many people right now is they're literally the prodigal son? They're on the street begging bread and trying to rob pigs of their food. And yet they were born rich, born in a land of plenty, born in a family of plenty, and now they're on the street. They're smoking weed and taking drugs, and they no effort, no diligence, lazy as ever, because they didn't learn these principles that we're talking about here. They didn't learn the principles of the people flowing over the border, that you come to work, and everything in life you have to work. Everything, your health, your mind, your body, everything you have to put labor in. Notice here. Now, this is the point now that links to Genesis chapter 3, verse. Okay, so first, before I read 17 and 18, I'll go back to Genesis 3 with you here. Genesis chapter 3, verse 24. Genesis 3, verse 24 says, "So he drove out the man and placed at the east of the garden cherubims and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life." Ouch. Notice that now. Keep that in your mind. And notice here now in Proverbs chapter 3, again, same 3, so easy to remember. I wish it was 24, but it's not. So notice it says, talking about wisdom, her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all our paths are peace. So you want to have a pleasant life, you want to have a peaceful life, wisdom. But notice this now, verse 18. "She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retaineth her." Wisdom, most naturally, is viewed as a female. You lose the tree because of an action of a female that was doing dumb stuff or foolish stuff. Later on, it's going to describe, I think, Proverbs 6, a female that you need to, if you don't have wisdom, you want to avoid her. So blessings come through females and curses come through female. That's the Bible narrative. And if anybody should know this, it should be Solomon himself. The king of females and the king of wisdom and the king of foolishness at the same time. Very, very important person to listen to because he knows it. In order for you to do life, you have to learn from those people who have taken a whipping in their life so that you don't take a whipping for yourself. So we see here that when you go at life, you have to go at life with wisdom. Now, somebody said, "But I have hard work." Yes. I don't have the tree of life. Yes. But what you have is the Lord said, "I can make your mind more precious than fine gold. I can make your head become more precious than silver. I can teach you wisdom, but you have to seek after it. And when you seek after wisdom, then you're going to figure out, oh, I can make my own garden. I can live a life of pleasantness," because that was the Garden of Eden. I still have to work, but you have to figure out how to do the work easier by being wise. You have to learn to make some money, use it, buy a piece of equipment so you can do the same labor, but without the heavy labor. You have to learn to avoid drugs and alcohol and stuff like that so you don't waste your labor in cocaine and stuff like that. You have to learn to take care of your body so that your body can treat you good and you can enjoy a good experience and you can avoid certain beatdowns. In other words, you're trying to do life wise. You're trying to do life smart instead of doing life foolish. Because when you do life foolish, you're not gonna be garden of experience. Think about this: people right now living as if there's no Garden of Eden. There's a Garden of Eden, but it comes by you have to figure it out. As I say, God showed his hand. How did he show his hand? He kick you out and say, "You go figure it out yourself." So then we figure it out, and we're trying to live a life of pleasantness and live a life until we die, until we go back to the dust. We live a life that is wise. We live a life that's not foolish. Because when you're foolish, you get whipping and lashes for your bottom and for your back. So I read it again to close. She, wisdom, again, it's a she always. You have to find a good woman in your life. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold on her. That's what you want to marry. And when you hold that tree, you take off the fruit and you get blessed. And happy is everyone that retaineth her. You don't want to divorce from her. You want to keep her in your life. So that's why I see marriage in all of this. It's all in my head, I guess. So that's what you want to do in this life. And when you do this, you're going to find that again, sowing and reaping, planting and harvesting, labor. Both to sow the ground and to harvest is labor. Faith is labor because faith is knowledge and understanding now to apply that to do something, to be diligent at something, to seek something, to labor at something. And when you do this, you do life. Life is just much better. Yes, there's trouble. Yes, there's headache, but you're always working to try to figure it out so that you don't have to have life hard. And that's all it is. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for this day and your word. I pray that you may bless us towards this end, that we may seek wisdom, dear Lord, that we might live life wise, and that we may make choices, dear Lord, that will not always hurt us and cause us harm. May you bless us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. Well, thanks for being here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow, where we should talk about current events. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.